Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the REC podcast, brought to you by the REC Toycast. I am your host, Roman Chavez, and with me as always,
Erik and Roman.
Kids, we have yet another guest in the house.
Who?
Not a different guest, the same guest.
From
you
when?
might also say that we started recording after we ended a previous podcast with the big tuna himself, Jordan Tunney.
I'm here, everybody. I
All
made
right.
it. Yeah.
Some big things happened, and we need to talk about them. But first, you need to know you can check us out on Instagram at REC Podcast. You can follow me at Roman REC Podcast, and you can find Erik rifling through the oranges, squeezing them, just fresh juice from his brow to his glass, fleshy and all. There is pulp. There is pulp. Guys, we had some spy stuff happen this week.
Yeah.
And 2 trailers dropped that are so, they're just in our wheelhouse, and we need to talk about them. And we had no plans to do this show until they both dropped. So, first is James Bond, 007 himself, No Time to Die? Is that it?
No Time to Die.
No
and
Time to Die.
I do think I think the title is going to be more significant than just a title. I think that's going to be worked in the movie in a clever way. But
yes.
There and a lot of the reports are Daniel Craig's. This is his final go. His final.
One last ride.
Yeah, yeah. Which is the plot of I think every Daniel Craig Bond.
Yeah.
We need you to come out of retirement.
Yeah, he was already ready to end after Casino Royale.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but I will say. The Bond story, the Bond mythos is so cool. On the one hand, the movies are often kind of fragmented and kind of standalone, but at the same time, there is some continuity between them. And I'm glad to see it looks like this is going to be a direct follow-up with Spectre.
Yes.
The way that Skyfall was a loose follow-up to Spectre, where there was, they pulled in from Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace by bringing the organization together, and then we realized that Spectre, it's just, Q is or Quantum, I'm sorry, is part of a bigger umbrella, and but we're seeing Christoph Waltz, the villain Blofeld, is back. We're seeing his love interest from their previous film. It really does look like they're finishing out a story. Yeah. Which they did a little bit with the end of Casino Royale and the start of Quantum of Solace. So I'm excited to see them continue that part of the story. I'm hoping we don't get a lot of revision where it's like, oh, she never loved him. You know what I mean? Like, there does need to be some weight to it. But it looks like, once again, Bond leaves the game for a while. A new 007 is picked, and then they pull me right back in.
Yeah. Because it's not a new 007, right? It's just a new 00.
Well, it's a new 00, but there were some reports that she is 007, and that she took the mantle, if you will. And that'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. It looks like he might be doing this work a little off the books,
for America at some point.
Yes, by having Felix Jeffrey Wright kind of come to him with I need your help with something.
Jeffrey Wright's low-key one of my favorite parts of this version of Bond. Yeah. I really like Jeffrey Wright's character as Felix Leiter. Yeah.
Well, and to be honest, I'm a huge Bond fan. I have the entire collection and go back through and watch them all the time. And but one of the frustrations I've had with the Daniel Craig series in particular is how everybody knows James Bond is a secret agent, which entirely defeats the first word of the compound, secret agent. Yeah. And I've thought to myself, how effective would it be when your cover is essentially blown by every major villain? Yeah. How effective can you be to be more than just a hired gun, a hitman? And they dabble a little bit with Casino Royale, where he's kind of struggling because he kind of needs to learn to have finesse and to not be a blunt instrument all the time. Yeah. But I'm almost at a point now where I wonder how much more can they keep the Bond dynamic of him being a secret agent and him globe-trotting and leaving this giant wake behind them. I'm wondering how much they can do that in the 2019-2020 world with satellites, with cell phones, with surveillance. And Spectre definitely alludes to that, this idea that no one can be a secret agent when nobody can be secret. There's no anonymous anymore. And so part of me thought how awesome it would be to see a rebooted James Bond franchise in a few years go back to the 1950s or 60s.
Ooh.
Cold War. The Russians can be our
like
enemy
it.
again. Analog. We're talking about it's revolutionary when there's a phone in your shoe, which Get Smart can come back. But I mean, like where it requires a different kind of creativity.
Yeah.
Where you can still have action and these things, but I love the Sean Connery Bonds, and that's one of the reasons those movies excelled so well. Was because in Thunderball, it's like, I'm out of here, and he has a jetpack, and if you were to do that in 2019, 2020,
no one's gonna raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I would like to see some changes, but having, I'm sorry, Ron.
No. It's just I'm like kind of in the middle as far as being a fan. Just my dad was obsessed with James Bond, so I've seen all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's split right down the middle for me as far as liking some of them, not liking some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this Daniel Craig verse, I guess it's kind of all this, like you were saying, it's kind of loosely tied together.
Yeah.
I'm like right down the middle on this one too. So this one's gonna be kind of I'm hoping it's his last one. I don't know if anybody but you two want more Daniel Craig.
I actually do think this should be his last one.
Okay.
I feel like this should be a good end to the story.
Right.
That started with Vesper at Casino Royale that culminates in this, and I don't know if that means he gets killed off, rides off into the sunset, or whatever it is. But I'd like to see MGM. I'd like to see them reboot with a new, different actor with a different take in some way in a few years. I would like to see that. But having said that, Daniel Craig is probably. He's probably my second favorite Bond.
Next to Connery.
Next to Connery, yeah. No one beats him.
Do you think that they're at this point? Do you think he's trying to pass the reins to this other 00? Do you think she's going to be Jane Bond? I'm wondering if that's where they're going.
Yeah, I could see them doing something like that. There have been reports that they were going to look to cast somebody there would be more ethnically diverse. In Idris Elba or something. And I'm all for that. I think that there's a lot. I think James Bond doesn't have to be, the same thing to everybody. I think it's a character that can evolve and change. Okay. And so I don't think there's anything particular about who he is individually, other than for King and Country, put my life on the line kind of thing. Whoever can establish that in a realistic, practical way, I would be down for. Okay. But one of my favorite Bond movies of all time is Dr. No.
Yes.
And having watched that movie dozens of times in my life, and then watching this preview, I'm like 99% sure the villain Rami Malek is Dr. No.
I didn't even know that Rami Malek was in the movie until I watched this trailer.
I knew he was cast. I didn't know he was playing the villain.
And I thought I was like, this looks cool. And that guy's got such a great look. It's unsettling, but kind of like a Skarsgård, the Skarsgård kid.
Bill, I think.
Yeah, good old Billiam. And so when I saw Rami Malek in the and then when he took the mask off and he was all scarred up, dude, I don't think I've ever seen Dr. No.
Yeah, this is something that some Bond people squabble about. It's a part of the James Bond universe, the JCU. It's the first one of the series. Sean Connery's first, and it's got Ursula Anders. It's got a lot of very seminal Bond film. But Dr. No is this scientist, doctor, madman. I mean, he's the archetype. He's got a secret lair. He's got his plans, but he has these prosthetic hands. And of course, in the movie, the Sean Connery film, the prosthetic hands, are very strong. They really actually look like he's just wearing like plastic, like on his hands and just kind of articulating them. But I had noticed in the new preview that just came out, there's a shot of him walking on like a frozen lake. And you can see his hands are holding a gun, but the fingers look pretty rigid, like they're a prosthetic. Oh. And I'm wondering if it'll be something like, the bomb that went off that scarred his face, took his hands, and the mask is kind of a symbol of that. But the reason I wanted to loop back to the title is if Bond were to say, no. Time to die. It sounds cheesy, but like, great. There's Daniel Craig could deliver that in a way.
Yeah.
My Bond is Pierce Brosnan.
Okay.
And while a lot of his movies aren't, GoldenEye's the best one. I think it's the best Bond of all time movie. But in Die Another Day, when they're talking about the general that like had the weird he's like, so he lived to die another day. And I love that when they say the title of the Bond movies in in the movies. My wife, she hates No Time to Die. She thinks it's so stupid. And I was like, man, they're gonna say it really cool in there. And I think Big Tuna, I think you just figured out how they're going to do it. I think we went off on a little James Bond rant there. What did you think of the trailer? As a whole, like, did you like the trailer?
I think I liked parts of it. Other parts of it, I feel like could have been cut and pasted from previous ones, like the Skyfall and Spectre preview, because a lot of it's set up with, we see that, an Aston Martin with machine guns, which is awesome, right? But we know we're going to get that in the movie anyway, and and so some of it does feel a little bit, I don't want to say recycled, but it feels a little too familiar. Yeah, and I want to see a little bit of, I want to see some new surprises. I'm hoping that by introducing this new 00, this dynamic where it looks like he leaves the woman he fell in love with in Spectre. Yeah. They're gone for years, and then she shows back up, and then we get the shot, the hero going to the villain Blofeld, and I think maybe we're going to learn that that maybe he was a part of Spectre, this group, the villain, and so he has to go to him for insight and that cat and mouse sort of thing. I do think there's some cool stuff they can do. Yeah. I think it's set up some interesting stuff. I was
getting ready to say, it set up a lot of cool stuff, but I'm with you. Some of it does look copied and pasted.
It does, yeah.
I think a little bit closer to this release, we're going to have to get together and we're going to have to talk some James Bond. Yeah. Good villains. Because we kind of be chaptered out. Who's your favorite villain of the Connery era? Of the, that would be a really cool one. Eric, did you like the trailer? Or you said you're kind of in the middle?
I'm sharing the same views over here with my man. Just kind of, it's right. Again, set up some cool stuff. Set up the premise pretty well. Yeah. Where, it shows you what we're going to be getting. But again, some of it does seem very familiar, just a little too familiar.
I love Christoph Waltz, so I'm excited to hopefully he's not just Hannibal Lecter. And I feel like he might be.
He might be.
That they're going to kind of shift away from him and then more on Rami Malek, especially since Rami Malek's so hot right now. Yeah. In the vein of more spy stuff, though, we definitely got the Black Widow trailer dropped kind of unexpectedly this week as well. Right. It came out at when did I text you guys? Like 2 in the morning?
It was like 1 in the morning. I think what happened is they were supposed to do it on Black Friday. And I think someone was like, oh man, we missed it.
Yeah, I was shopping. I like it. I like that it came out. I just happen to be, I'm usually up, that late, and I text everybody, so hopefully I didn't wake up anybody and cause alarm. But I thought the trailer was super, super solid. Like, if you didn't say that it was Black Widow, it looks like a cool, Salt, Atomic Blonde, just like cool spy female movie. Mm-hmm. And the fighting looked cool. They showed a ton of new characters, and I think we're gonna have more characters to come. We saw Taskmaster, Red Guard or Vanguard. We saw the Black Widow that replaces. At least that's who I think it's going to be. Her name is Yelena, and we just saw some really cool characters. What did you guys think when you saw the trailer, Big Tuna?
So like I know very little about a lot of the characters that are that orbit Black Widow in the Marvel universe. But I will say that it. This movie comes out in May. Mm-hmm. This is the first look we got of it. Yeah. And they hit it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great first trailer.
Yeah, as a first look to the movie, I'm like, this did pull me in. Like, I want to know, like, this looks like it's going to be a personal mission, unfinished business. Mm-hmm. I'm all about that. Like, resolving loose ends, all this sort of stuff. I think that her backstory is so, it was just teased in Age of Ultron, where we saw those visions with Scarlet Witch messing with her mind, and it's like, I really want to know more about what made her her. Yeah. Even though there's this feeling of knowing, like, well, we know how she ends. Yeah. I do think though that there's a lot of stuff that we can see, and as weird as it sounds, maybe a movie that takes place prior to the Infinity War Endgame saga might open the universe by giving us these tangential characters that have parallel lives to Natasha, and then in the post Endgame Marvel Cinematic Universe, now we can see Taskmaster. Maybe he's not done away with it. Mm-hmm. So maybe some of the heroes and villains introduced in this movie will be able to play roles in later films, and maybe they don't. It just shouldn't be forced. But I do think that as I would describe myself as a surface level Black Widow person. I know very little other than just about her in the films. But I want to know more.
Yeah.
Like this preview made me say, like, I do need to see this movie, and not all superhero marketing stuff has made me feel that way.
Oh, okay. Icarus himself.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm with you, man. Like, I thought it set up what we're again in a good way though. Like, unlike Bond, this didn't seem familiar. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Because
it was kind of the same beats almost, but it was giving me I was more intrigued with it.
That's interesting, especially since we've obviously had a lot more exposure in recent memory to Black Widow.
Yeah.
You could see a Black Widow centric trailer and not be like bored of it.
Right.
And I think that speaks volumes to
her mystique.
To her mystique, and that we do want to see Black Widow.
Oh, big time. And just setting up the villains, and then just the fan, just like subtle things for the fans, like Red Guardian and then Taskmaster, who aren't huge villains in the comics. Yeah. Let's be real here. But it's again, I'm really excited for this because I'm glad we're going to get another superhero movie that isn't all capes and flying. It's it's bringing it back down to the Winter Soldier level. Gritty. Jason Bourne style.
It's not existential threat to the universe.
Right.
It's
an existential quest.
Yes, it's small scale. Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think, in a way, those personal stories hit home a little harder. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say this isn't going to be an awesome ensemble piece, but we're focused on one person.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good to get back to those. You know what I mean?
There are things that I need to see done.
Okay.
I need to see. I want the Red Room and all of that stuff to be addressed, and we're not going to get this, but I would love to see a Agent Carter kind of callback, because we did see Black Widows in the Agent Carter miniseries TV show, and it was very interesting.
Yeah.
I think we need to see something about Budapest.
Oh,
we don't need to see everything, but if they do more allusions to Budapest, literally, we all have been interested in what happened in Budapest and why it's remembered differently since 2012. Mm-hmm. The David Harbour. Yeah. David Harbour as Red Guard or Vanguard, depending on who's writing, and he's got a great Russian accent. He looks huge. He looks
jacked.
He does.
Jacked. Probably his residual muscle
from Hellboy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And he looks good. He's heating up right now. So to have
was that a Hellboy reference?
There you go. He's people love him. I haven't finished Stranger Things, but he's got obviously a lot of clout from that. And I think that Scarlett Johansson has been just kind of underground holding it down for the MCU.
Yeah,
she's so integral. I cared so much when she died. I cared so much.
Yeah.
Oh, spoilers. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Avengers Endgame.
Disney Plus.
Check it out. Yep. It's there. When she died on screen, they did that scene so well. We've talked about it at length here. Yeah. They did that scene so well, and I cared so much. So she hasn't complained. She hasn't been like, I need my own movie. Right. I need this. I need that. But the fans have. And she hasn't said anything other than, like, yeah, it would be nice. She's just
very coy.
She's been, playing her part. Some might say, well, a man wouldn't have to do that. No, man. I think ScarJo is doing it right.
Yes.
And I think that she's developed so well as an actress, where there was a point where it was like, you're just a pretty face.
Right.
And you start seeing her do well. And she's been able to actually develop this character for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, about 8 years. And we all know who Black Widow is just as much as we know Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
She's done so well, and it wouldn't bother me if some people who worked on Winter Soldier have their hands in this.
At least the fight choreographers. Bring back those guys.
Those guys are killing it. And I think that we need this. Now, the things I don't like.
Oh.
Taskmaster is one of my favorite, not characters, but vehicles in a story. Mm-hmm. And Jordan, I think you'll get a kick out of this because you might not know this about the character. Taskmaster, when he first kind of starts out, is kind of this villain, and his whole thing is that he knows muscle memory.
Right.
If he sees you do it, he can do it.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out Taskmaster doesn't like getting his butt beaten by the Avengers. So what does he do? He's a hired. You
He's
say,
like a personal trainer.
Yes. You say, hey, I want to be able to fight Captain America. How can I survive an encounter with Captain America?
Cool.
Taskmaster teaches you these things.
Cool.
He teaches you how to fight. He teaches you these are the moves that they like to do. This is how you can get away. You're not going to beat Captain America in a fight, but here's how you can buy yourself some time to hopefully get away. So he's a guy that you hire to teach you these things, and that's such an interesting thing. So I really don't want him to just be
wasted in this
crossbones.
movie.
I don't want him to be.
You don't want him just to be a thug behind a mask.
Yes.
He just gets
I gotcha.
killed off pretty quickly.
His look is not Taskmaster-like, and apparently, and I saw this today, I've not vetted this, you probably saw the same thing, but the reason he doesn't have the traditional skull mask is because apparently in China, it's illegal to show skulls and skeletons in promotional material. So the word on the interwebs is that it is to appease the Chinese market.
I like the interwebs.
The interwebs. Because of widows.
There
because
you
of
go.
Spiders and webs.
I saw what you wove together
man,
there.
it's nice to work with such high level.
He winked at me when he said
such high level podcasters, people who know what they're talking about.
For the refined audience.
Yes. Yeah. Now,
so you think he'll eventually get it?
I would hope
in the
so.
movie?
Or some version. Our boy, Boss Logic online is doing killing it right now. He redid a version, and why couldn't you do this? It looks like it, but it doesn't look like a skull per se. It was an excellent thing. I'll have to send it to you. You'll dig it.
When I was doing a little bit of the research for this, I was looking at some of the not just the comic book design, but also the Spider-Man PlayStation video game had a submission where you find him and fight him, and I looked at the character designs for that as well as the designs for the upcoming Square Enix Avengers game. He's apparently one of the early villains that they face, and just looking at seeing kind of how it looks, he's kind of almost got like a Grim Reaper sort of look, where it's like a skull mask with a hood kind of thing and stuff, and I was just having a conversation with a student today because she said, "Is there a Black Widow trailer?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can I see it?" So she stayed in for lunch to actually watch it in my classroom. And we talked a little bit about it. And I was telling her, I said, one of my, because she was commenting about how we see a few different costumes for Black Widow. We see one that looks a little bit more tactical. There's the snow one. It's like a white uniform that, she's wearing. And we were talking about it, and she goes like, why does Black Widow need different outfits? And I was like, well, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, in the Marvel universe, there's kind of I have this feeling of like if you can't explain to me why you're wearing a costume, it's stupid that you're wearing a costume, and in the sense where it's like, if it's not functional, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was pretty critical of the early Captain America designs and some of the earlier Avengers stuff until I really liked it with Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And then Infinity War, it's kind of this whole idea of gone rogue, my star's gone kind of thing.
There's a lot of good symbolism with that stuff.
Absolutely. And so it's like, you know what, if it's something, if Taskmaster acquires a new helmet, a more traditional helmet, or so, if it's a part of the story, that's fine. If he's wearing a skull just to wear a skull, I'm going to be like, come on. Yeah. But if it's intimidating, if it's like one of those things where it's like you're going to stare death in the face as he stabs somebody, you know what I mean? That would sell me on the look.
Same thing with the Punisher. He wears a skull as a psychological draw.
Yeah,
you see it. Death is coming.
I always thought it was because his son bought him the T-shirt in Jamaica.
No, that wasn't what it was. That would have been a what do you call that, with the spray paint and it would have been like a Looney Tunes character. That's what you get in Jamaica. That type of high quality fashion sense. Okay. I think it was an excellent trailer, and I really think they're going to drop something huge on us in it.
Oh yeah.
I've been very vocal that I think we might get an Omega Red reference in the film, and maybe they're talking about mutants or something. I feel like it's going to be more significant, because Marvel's only got 2 films next year. They've got that, and I believe Eternals.
Yep.
So they are really going to.
They have to give us something.
They got to give us something. They got to give us something really prolific and profound without having a predominant Avengers film, or we don't know what the road is at this point.
Yeah.
So
especially since this takes place in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly. Whereas I think that they did a good job in Captain Marvel of having it take place in the past and giving us things that are going to set up for later.
It's funny. I'm way more excited for this than I was for Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm more familiar with the character of Black Widow, but Yeah, I don't know. It just looks I don't know. I just love a good spy romp.
I hope it's globetrotting, but I'm fine if it takes just place in Russia, but I hope it's globetrotting. I'd like to see maybe a Rasputin farm for Colossus and his sister. I would like to see. Do you remember Dark Star?
Oh yeah.
From the Winter Guard.
Oh yeah.
Dark Star is like their heavy hitter in the Russian like superhero.
Okay.
Yeah, she's basically like a Green Lantern. She has purple powers that she can create constructs and stuff like that. But she's a really provoking, visually provoking character. And yeah, it'll be nice to see them kind of play in Russia with Russian superheroes.
Yeah.
Because Red Guardian is a hero to the people there. At least he believes himself to be. But they also work for the oppressive government. So you have those ups and downs, those left and right.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
But just kind of thinking through like this whole idea of the timeline, because I was reading a little bit about how we have Black Widow and Eternals for the 2020 release films. I was reading some reports that they were saying they've been running into some production issues with Eternals, and that it is going to be an extensive amount of work that needs to be done on the back end because of all the visuals. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up getting pushed. And if we are only getting one Marvel movie in 2020, it's really got to be a big hit.
Yeah.
And so I don't, and I mean, all this was, none of it's confirmed by the studio or anything. It's people, it's Reddit, and I know a guy.
Those always have a nugget of truth.
Exactly. Yeah, it's coming from somewhere. But thinking through this whole idea that Fox, the acquisition has been completed in these things, and what would be an organic way to introduce, X-Men mutant kind or whatever that they feel like bringing in whenever they feel like bringing it in. I wouldn't want to see anything forced unless it's like a little Easter egg where it's like it's an Omega Red reference, or maybe in this universe it was the Russian government that were running the Weapon X program, and there is a wink there, but then at the same time there's going to be the natural questions of like if it's taking place in the past and you make a Omega Red reference or you make a Weapon X reference or something. We don't see them in the events of Infinity War Endgame. What were they doing at that time? I think there's a few things there, but as a surface level fan, I want more. Give me more.
So as somebody, obviously, I think of the Avengers group, Black Widow is probably the one you know the least about.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but you're excited based on that.
I think it's by design too.
Yeah.
The way they present her character in there, she's supposed to be wrapped in.
She's supposed to have the mystery. Yeah.
So we've been clamoring for her backstory forever. So
as such a huge James Bond fan, which trailer did you like better?
A better question: who do you think would win in a fight?
Oh man, here's the reality. All right, kids, you're gonna want to pause it here. There would be a fight, but James Bond is an attractive man. Black Widow's an attractive woman, and we know what happens in Bond movies when those stars collide.
Yeah. We also know what happens when Black Widow's mate.
Yeah. I actually will say I am a huge Bond fan, but man, if I could buy a ticket right now to see one of the two movies, it'd be Black Widow, because
that's what I want to hear.
And the thing is we're getting the reverse backstory, origin story in a way. It may not be we're going to see flashbacks through the whole film, and I wouldn't want to see that, but we're going to learn much more about her origin in this film. Yeah. Guaranteed. That's kind of the whole premise. Whereas with the other ones, we saw Thor, we saw Hulk, we saw Captain America, we saw 3 Iron Man. We've seen all these different origin stories develop, and now they have essentially given us her life as a hero, her death, and now we're seeing how we get there.
Because this is going to be probably the first Marvel movie that doesn't this movie could just be by itself. It might have nothing else to do with Phase 4.
Yes. That's true.
That's true. Which doesn't seem smart either. So I'm wondering what weapon, what artifact, what person are we going to see here? Because if you saw John Hurt or William Hurt?
William Hurt.
Okay, William Hurt, he had the de-aging. He looked much younger. And then there was a scene where Black Widow, she looked like she was wearing the thing that she was wearing in Wakanda during Infinity War. So I'm wondering where we're at. Is it going to take place? Is there going to be a part of it that takes place between Infinity War and Endgame in that 5-year stretch?
See, and to me, And the reason I would say I'm guessing it probably won't. We only got a trailer. They chose what to show us.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in all they showed us, she has the short red hair. In Infinity War, she has the blonde hair. And in Endgame, it's grown out so that she has the blonde tips with the red growing back in. I almost wonder if that was kept in a way to
That's
show
true.
us.
I forgot that she was so blonde.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that's purposeful. But at the same time, like, you know, we might see that she drops off the map at this point and comes back here. It could very well be that an act of the film, the third act of the film, could possibly be after the snap. And the audience will know because we'll see her hair and the, you know, like there's some tricks that they could use for sure to cue us into that.
Notorious for, you know, digitizing stuff in their trailers to throw people off.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like they put Hulk in Infinity
Battlefield
War.
Gundam,
So they could just be digitizing her hair to make us all, you know, do this, which is genius.
Yeah, which I love. Like we talked about it before. Part of the fun of being a Marvel fan is the speculation.
Yeah,
sure.
Because us trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then them giving us a little, being like, "You are right, but 180. This is what's going on."
The only way you can surprise people is if you anticipate what they're expecting.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah,
that's interesting. And on that note, guys, I think that we need to anticipate some more Black Widow stuff in the future. We're gonna have to talk more about it, and I think that's our show.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button, leave us a like, give us a comment. What did you guys think of the trailer? Either trailer. Are you fed up with James Bond? Are you ready to put Black Widow to bed? I am. And you know, just let us know what you're thinking. Your feedback means a lot. Give us a review on really any of the podcasting channels that you're listening to us on. Eric, what did you learn today?
You know, I learned that I need a fight between these two. I need to see it.
Yeah, well, it's never going to happen. Big Tuna, what do you?
Screw attack, you know.
Yeah.
Well, to be frank with you, I never would have thought I wanted to see a Black Widow movie, but I'll never say never again.
Oh yes, I learned that even a diehard Black Widow fan like the Tuna himself is kind of a little bit more into 007. You want to watch Black Widow instead, and I think that's great because you are such a fan.
Yeah.
So for you to see these trailers come out this week, be similar motifs, and you want be a little bit more excited about Black Widow, I think that is yet another step in the right direction for Marvel. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I have been your host, Roman Chavez.
I'm still Eric Icarus.
And again, Jordan.
Yay!
Tunde. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and your knowledge, and we will catch you guys next time on the REC Podcast.